This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about goopy game shows, Polaroid pics, and the joy of juggling. All that and more as we watch Season 6, Episode 24 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Imran. I'm here every week, and joining me every week, my sister, Sophia. What's up, Sophia?
What's up? Everything's good. We're in December now, and I've just been doing a lot of, goal setting and intentions and, planning for the new year. Things that, getting things sorted out, getting my calendar, my major events, timeline of the year,
Busy.
A little preview.
Yeah.
It's something to do before the new year, so you start fresh with a plan.
Or you could just dive in with no plan, which is how I live my life. It's rather chaotic, but fun.
I don't know. I think somewhere in the middle's good. Like you need some sort of guidelines on the calendar.
Okay,
or some,
I suppose. Everybody's going to be hitting the gym.
Targets.
It's got to be January.
Oh, I
and then
already
they quit.
hit the gym. Yeah.
Listen, if you had no plans, then nothing can go wrong. That's how I see
That's
things.
true, and that's a very good intro to this week's episode.
Yes, because you're right. If you're planning events, you need to pick certain things.
You need plans with flexibility, but
you need dates upon dates upon dates.
Yeah.
Let's see how well they do this week on The Perfect Strangers.
I feel like it took you a little too long to get on to what I was going for.
I was just thinking
in my
about how I don't want to make plans for anything. That's too much pressure.
And then I was totally missed it.
We're recording
Listeners,
a podcast.
This is a little insight. We don't plan these things. He's hearing it for the first time. You're hearing it.
That's right.
And he had no idea what I was talking about.
But everyone is also, I got to start making my plans. Everybody, I think, opened up there. No?
I don't know. Do a little bit.
It's a good reminder.
All right. Speaking of planning.
Yes.
This week's episode, Season 6, Episode 24 of Perfect Strangers, entitled See You in September.
Oh, is that a plan? Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan.
Also sounds like a song, because it is a song. It's a song recorded by the Tempos in 1959, and then again by the Happenings in 1966. Like a doo-woppy. I've never heard of this song.
I never heard this song.
In fact, I was just playing it for us before. I've already forgotten how it goes. It's like, see you in September. That's not how it goes. I don't know. But
it was slowish, yeah.
It was slowish. If you were to open the TV guide coming up to the week of the show, you would have read Larry and Jennifer set a June wedding date and agreed to take a Maposian wedding test to determine their compatibility.
I think whoever wrote this description should get fired.
See you in September.
It's literally in the title.
But they're not wrong. Both things are correct.
But it's a little misleading.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. All right. We have our regular cast of the boys and the girls. Bronson Pinchot, Marklyn Baker playing Balky and Larry. And then Melanie Wilson and Rebecca Arthur playing Jennifer and Marianne. Even though I think Jennifer feels more like a Rebecca and Marianne feels more like a Melanie.
No, it's Rebecca Arthur.
I think their real names
Marianne.
should be changed.
I can see that though.
I always get that confused. Yeah.
And again, this is episode 24. We are at the end of season 6 and kind of the end of the TV season for 1991. This episode airing May 3rd, 1991, spring.
Almost time for summer reruns.
Just like school season was the TV season. It was very exciting. And of course, you can stream and watch right now, currently in 2023, all 8 seasons on Amazon Freevee and or Amazon Prime Video. Now, to those listeners in the future, like maybe you're like in 2050 or 2072, it may not be on Amazon Freevee. That's all I'm saying. Right now,
there may not be Amazon.
It might just like pop up in your head. I don't know how we watch TV in 2050. Somebody write us from the future.
Oh my God, imagine if we got a letter tomorrow.
Well, that means then we could prove that time travelers do exist. Because like this audio,
or the USPS,
as long as the infrastructure stays around for 50 years, this audio may still be available somewhere in the future.
Yeah, but what if there's like an apocalypse type thing and everything gets burned to the ground and we start over?
And the only thing that survived was the internet.
We'll only be like 25 years in.
No, this is we're talking to the future here.
Okay. Hi, future. Hi, future. Do you remember this episode? See you in September.
If not, we're going to tell you about it right now.
Let's talk about it. Imagine, if you will, our heroes in their apartment. Actually, it's just Balky and Marianne in the apartment. But what does the apartment looking like?
Oh, there's all these decorations everywhere. What's this, like garland and garlic?
It looks very like farmy, Meposian, outdoorsy.
But it also looks like Meposian, like holiday.
Yeah.
There's bows and
like
green
wreaths,
things and
greens,
reeds,
leaves.
but then also just bunches of garlic hanging everywhere and
around the
and I
apartment.
think other vegetables.
Yes,
there seems to be stalks, maybe some broccoli, some asparagus. Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on.
And
here.
So they're like preparing something, and then Marianne's like, "Oh, I hear them." She hears footsteps coming, so Balky runs and gets a Polaroid camera.
A Polaroid
Do we have to explain that?
We might have to, but
it's like hip now.
I mean, they use it in here, so we can't figure it out.
Huh?
So once you go through the scene, you see what the Polaroid does.
So Balky runs and grabs a Polaroid camera, and he like aims it at the door. He's looking through it. He's like, okay. And then Marianne opens the door, and Larry and Jennifer are just about to enter. And so they come in and they go, surprise. And then Balky's taking this picture. He's like, I want to preserve this moment for posteriors.
Posteriors.
He means posterity.
Posterity, yes. And he pops open the flash on the Polaroid, remember, and starts clicking away.
And then they take them to the couch.
Pictures
and
start
the whole
coming
time,
out.
Balky and Marianne are like super excited, but Jennifer and Larry are like, what is going on? And so they take them over to the couch. They sit them down, and Balky's still taking pictures. He's like, Cousin Larry, give me energy. Jennifer, lick your lips. Okay, beautiful. And she's like, what?
And then he's like, okay, now do something completely wacky. And they're just staring at him as sometimes the flash goes off of this thing and sometimes it doesn't.
And they're just like silent the whole time. And finally, Larry's like, what is all this? And why is there produce on the wall?
See, I noticed there was produce on the wall. So, the Polaroid, like you said, it is still hip now, which is crazy. Yeah. But the Polaroid company, I was looking this up because I was like, what's the deal with Polaroid now? The company founded in 1937. They made a bunch of different things. A lot of film that you could pull that would get exposed. But that style of camera that he has first appears in 1972.
Oh, wow.
So throughout the 70s, 80s, even in the 90s, Polaroid was huge. They filed for bankruptcy the first time in 2001.
Wow.
And then file again in 2008, at which point this other company buys them.
Okay.
Because they were, this new company was kind of making film for the Polaroid cameras, fun film that was, like
playful film.
Yes.
Crafty.
So as they went bankrupt, they buy them, and now Polaroid is still kind of a brand, and you can buy.
But under this other company.
Yes, under this new company.
The brand is definitely still around.
You can still buy kind of these
and it's
Polaroid
like getting
cameras.
like Gen Z hip or something.
Yes, now it's nostalgic,
like little
and
tiny
retro.
ones that are stickers and stuff.
But the iconic frame, right? You know when you see,
we never had one.
Never had one.
We never had one. I don't know why.
But you know when you see that, it's like original Instagram.
Yeah.
You see that rectangle with the white box. It's a little bit bigger at the bottom.
Instagram icon.
It's a lot of the times it's like attached photo icon. It looks like a Polaroid. So the shape of that photo, iconic still.
Yeah, of the photo, not of the camera.
the Polaroid camera. Yeah, the photo.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that it still exists as a brand. It's called Polaroid something.
Oh,
and I think they still make film for certain things.
Okay. Yeah, we should get one. I don't know why we never had one. It seems like a cool thing to have.
It's expensive. You got to keep buying the cartridges with the photos, but it's so cool. They would come out right away.
Anyways, you have to shake them.
Yeah, no. You have to shake them like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, back in the scene.
Yeah, we got to mention there's like a big cake in front of them.
And Larry had asked, why is there produce on the wall? And Balky's like, duh. Does the word 6 phases of the moon mean anything to you? And he just like slaps his knee and like laughs.
Come on.
And he's like, or do you want to just keep getting out there and sowing your mild goats?
Sowing your wild
oats.
Wild oats, mild goats.
He changed it to mild goats.
And Larry and Jennifer both are kind of like laughing, like they understand what's going on, and they clearly don't because then he's just like, "What are you talking about, Balky?"
And Marianne chimes in. She's like, I'll give you a hint. It's been 6 phases of the moon since you and Jennifer got engaged.
Oh.
So according to Meposian custom, tonight's the night you set the wedding date.
Right. See, she knows about 6 phases of the moon.
And Larry and Jennifer both seem very uneasy with this. And Larry's like, no, we're not setting a date yet. And Balky's like, but cousin, you're 1/64th Meposian.
It's a tiny bit.
I just assumed you were going to be following Meposian custom. Why would he assume that? All Larry does is poo-poo on Meposian
Would that show up on like a 23andMe, Ancestry.com, 1/64th Meposian?
If there were enough Meposians in the sample pool.
Yeah. So... let's just note the minute they mention anything about getting married, these two get incredibly nervous.
Yes.
Larry and Jennifer get incredibly nervous. And Jennifer says, we're going to follow American customs. And Balky goes, oh, well, so I guess you won't be walking down the aisle on your hands. But remember, he got almost married in that episode.
Right.
And they didn't do any of that. Walking down their
Yeah.
hands. So I don't know. He's just making things up at this point.
Things change. Yeah. Maybe there's like different tiers or timelines of Meposian customs. Yeah. So he tells him he's not going to do the Meposian thing. And then here comes Marianne with a very good point, clear and straightforward. She's like,
what everybody's thinking.
Yeah. Because Larry has said they've established he's not going to do Meposian customs. And she goes, well, I don't think it's an American custom to get engaged and never set a wedding date.
Burn, Marianne.
It's such a good point. And they
Very good
obviously were like, oh, yeah. And then Larry's like so nervous and Jennifer, and they're like, we never said never. And Marianne's like, okay, so when is it? Set the date.
Go ahead.
And she's like, and Larry is like, I mean, it's no problem. I mean, we'll go ahead and
and he's like, well, Jennifer, if Jennifer doesn't want it, she's like,
Jennifer's like, why wouldn't I want to? They're both getting so frantic.
And so then Balky's like, shall we start with the month? And he gets ready to do something because he grabs a baker's pastry thing where you put frosting in to write stuff on cakes. He gets ready to write and he's like, give me the month. And Larry goes, okay, well, July. And Balky goes, okay, July. And he starts writing in blue frosting, big July on the cake.
And Larry just watches him write the whole entire word.
Yes.
And staring at him on the cake the whole time. And then he goes, then after he's done, he says, oh, I was about to say July, August, September, and October are out because my allergies act up.
Oh, my allergies.
And he's like, I don't want to sneeze through the ceremony. So he blames his allergies. And then Balky gets so annoyed. He's like, okay, fine. And he takes like a cake, like a frosting scraper thing and like scrapes the top layer of frosting off where he just wrote July and takes out some roses too with it. And then Larry looks, Jennifer's like, November through January, no good for me. Tight flight schedule. We wouldn't have time for a honeymoon. And
these all just sound like lame excuses.
Larry adds to them. He's like, well, the weather's not good in February or March. And then they're trying to keep going with excuses. And Jennifer goes, my birthday's in April, which is like, well, you can't get married the same month as your birthday.
Mine's in May. So those months are out just because your birthday is in there?
I don't know. Are we missing something?
And then Balky, with process of elimination, goes, June. And Larry goes, June. June is good for me.
Jennifer's like, okay, June's
he goes,
good for me.
You like June? She goes, I love June. Just real awkward. Nobody's sure.
June would be great.
June, I love June.
And then she's getting so nervous. She's like, oh my God, is it warm in here?
Oh my God.
She's like about to hyperventilate. Yeah. And Balky starts writing on the cake again and he does a big J, a U, and then he stops. This is the best line of the whole episode. He goes, I never should have erased the J and U from July. And then he finishes with an N and an E. It was such a funny line.
It was so funny. He didn't know. He's like, you could just use the first
It's such a funny line to me. Yeah.
So then,
it's something I would have thought too. I'm like, I shouldn't have done it.
Why did I scrape off the J and U? Should have just started backwards. Then he grabs like the knife and lops off like the corner of the cake.
In like a
huge
weird
piece on an angle, not a square, not like how you cut cake.
On like a weird random angle, not
just
clean
like the
at all.
triangle off of the end, and it's a giant
but
piece.
it's like an offset triangle too.
Yeah, it's not an isosceles.
No.
It's an obtuse triangle. It's an acute. Anyways, he puts this huge piece of cake on the plate and shoves a fork in it and tries to give it to Jennifer.
But he and Marianne start going dun dun
Yeah,
dun,
he marches it in
dun,
the air.
dun, dun, dun,
Oh,
and he
yes.
walks the cake down
And
the aisle
then hearing
to her.
the wedding march, Jennifer's getting very, very uncomfortable.
She's like almost hyperventilating. She's like, I don't feel well. I have to go now. And she gets up
and leaves.
And she leaves, and Marianne follows her out, and we hear her say, every time somebody starts talking about the wedding, you get sick.
Oh.
She goes, I think I know what your problem is. You're not getting enough protein.
Yeah, she misses the point, but it's hilarious. So she gets sick every time she talks about the wedding.
Which is like,
that's great.
What? Does that confirm our suspicions that these two are like, or she's not really that into him, and now she's freaking out because she has to marry him?
It all gets solved in 30 minutes, 22 minutes. Don't worry. Meanwhile, Balky is still taking pictures of Larry. Larry turns and Balky snaps a picture. And you notice Larry reacts like a flash went in his eyes, and the flash didn't go off. Sometimes in these cameras, the flash didn't go off.
But he reacted anyway.
You just get a dark photo.
Maybe the sound startled him.
Yeah, I don't know. Or just the camera. So, as they leave, Larry picks up the plate of the giant cake, and he's like, well, nervous bride, huh? And he starts eating, and you notice his right leg is now bouncing in a nervous, jittery bounce, and he's eating all haphazardly and nervously. And he goes, ever seen somebody so nervous about a wedding?
And Balky's just watching him like frantically eating this cake and bouncing his leg. And Balky's like, yeah, I have. You. Larry's like, no, I'm not nervous. He's like, and his like leg is still bouncing real fast. Balky's like, you're right. You're more scared than nervous. And Larry's like, scared? Don't be crazy. And he keeps shoving cake in his mouth, and he keeps bouncing his leg. And Balky finally takes the plate away from him and puts it on the table. And he goes, look, I know you like I know my way to the bathroom.
That's a different saying than if he had said, I know you like I know my way in the bathroom.
Back of
that'll be different. But it's supposed to be the back of my hand.
Yeah.
He's messed it up before by saying, I know you like I know the back of my head.
But
this
it's
makes
on
sense.
my way to the bathroom makes
Yeah,
sense.
so he knows
everyone
very
knows
well. Everyone knows the way to the bathroom. It's just another way of saying.
I think I know my way to the bathroom better than I know the back of my hand.
Many things, yes.
And he says, cousin, I know when you're scared. You have all the classical symptoms, the compulsive eating. Larry goes, was I eating? Balky goes, the nervous leg twitch. And Larry,
this is great.
Larry looks down at his bouncing leg.
No, he looks at his left leg that is not bouncing.
Oh, yeah.
While the other leg is bouncing, and he touches it, and he's like, huh? And then Balky points to the other leg that's bouncing, and he looks to the right leg, and that stops bouncing, and the left leg starts bouncing, and he pokes that one, and then he turns back to Balky, and then the leg switches back to the right leg.
It's a very funny little seated physical comedy. Yeah. And then Balky, the third point Balky has is like, and everything you say is in the form of a question. And Larry goes, it is?
It is?
And Balky says, yes. He goes, are you sure? Yes. Is that bad? Yes. Is there ice cream to go with this cake? And Balky goes, oh, God. He's like, this is worse than I thought it was. And Larry, here we go, trying to convince Balky, but also trying to convince himself, maybe. He's like, no, I have no reason to be scared. I love Jennifer. Jennifer loves me. We're going to live happily ever after. And then he picks up the cake and starts shoving it in his mouth again, and his leg starts tapping again. And Larry looks at Balky and goes, don't you think?
Balky's about to answer, and Larry just cuts him off. He goes, well, of course you don't. He goes, neither do I. And here's the real reason he's nervous. Jennifer thinks that she's marrying a handsome, sophisticated, charming man, and after they get married, she's going to realize that she is married to me, is what he says. She is going to be miserable, and then he picks up the cake and starts eating again.
And his leg starts bouncing again. And then we have maybe one of the moment where I laughed out loud in this episode. So he's like, she's gonna be miserable, blah blah blah, and then he looks at Balky, goes, "Don't you think?" And he's still has this piece of cake in his hands on a plate, and his right leg is tapping, and his fork is in his right hand, and he puts his elbow down on his knee, which is bouncing.
As he tries to get a piece of
his
cake,
whole arm and
up and down.
up to his hand bounces rapidly, and he has a piece of cake, and it's just like smushing into his face over and over again.
He's trying to get a piece, trying to put it in his mouth.
Visually, it was so, and it goes on for a little while, and visually it was so funny, but
so
also it was ridiculous funny because like nobody would ever do that
for that long.
And
these two are like in each other's face, and nobody's cracking up.
Oh
you don't
my
even
God,
see a
they
hint
had
of a crack up.
not even a sign that they were in a break.
Is hitting his nose at this point.
So
it's
well
really funny.
done.
Yeah.
I don't know how even him doing it wouldn't be laughing.
It's just great physical comedy.
Oh my God, I died.
Three Stooges, the physical
I
comedy
laughed
of the time.
out loud so much.
So good. It's vibrating up and down.
It's just silly because
yeah.
I don't know. It's just like whoever came up with that idea, like such a clever idea. All right. And Balky just watches this again, doesn't break at all. And then he grabs the cake away from him. And
then he wipes his nose also, which is kind of funny.
He wipes Larry's mouth and nose like he's a child with a napkin.
Mm.
And Larry goes, he's just afraid of losing Jennifer. And he says that he's afraid that after they're married, she'll leave him and he'll lose her anyway. And he's freaking out. He says, what am I going to do? And Balky has a suggestion. He says, the two of you could take the Nupitiki SATiki.
The Nupitiki SATiki? There he repeats.
It's the Myposian marriage test.
That's such a clever name. You know, the breakdown, Nupitiki SATiki.
Nuptials,
and then the SAT, the standardized test. It's so perfect.
It's so good.
Nupitiki SATiki.
It's very good, this one.
And so Larry scoffs right away, but Balky tries to convince him that this test can determine whether or not a marriage should take place beyond the shadow of a snout.
How long is the snout's shadow?
Oh, that's a long stay. Depends on the snout. Is it an anteater? Is it how big is the snout?
The shadow of a doubt. And how long is the shadow of a doubt?
How long is the shadow of a doubt?
I don't know.
How long do doubts have shadows? Or I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. So Larry does not want to take.
Immediately poo-pooing.
He's like, it's this stupid Myposian test. I'm not taking him. And Balky tries to convince him. As he picks up the cake and he like lures Larry over to the kitchen with the cake because Larry just wants to eat cake. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that part was funny to watch, but it wasn't really believable because we don't have any past knowledge of like Larry's like extreme love for cake or like junk food.
It's just the compulsive eating from his neurotic state.
But he lures him over as if we have this understanding already that Larry would follow cake.
Yeah, Larry follows cake wherever it goes, I guess is what we learned. But Balky tells him he's offering him an opportunity to make sure they have a happy marriage. He's like, you cannot keep indefinitely postponing this. He says, sooner or later, you're going to have to mate or cut bait.
Mate or cut bait.
I like that saying.
Yep.
And so he goes, call Jennifer, ask her how she feels about taking this test.
So Larry's like, okay. And
I guess that's why they had to go to the kitchen to get by the phone.
He says, fine, I'll call her, but only just to prove that she thinks this is as stupid as I do. Again, underlining that he's poo-pooing the test. Uh-huh. So he gets Jennifer on the phone and he says, I know this sounds silly, but Balky says he has a test that can prove whether or not our marriage will work. And he starts to he's like, no, now look, I told him. And then he's like, hello? She hangs up on him. And he thinks she's angry at him for suggesting this test. But then, out of nowhere, Jennifer
2 seconds later.
Yeah, like 2 seconds. Like she ran up the stairs or down or whatever. Barges through the front door and goes, I want to take that test right now. And then she's standing, right? She's standing next to Larry and her leg starts shaking and tapping the floor. But this one...
It's a callback, right?
It's a callback.
They're saying they both are experiencing this nervousness, but
it was not it was not
Who does that?
funny
Does that
to
ever
me.
happen?
Yeah, I didn't laugh at it as much. I was like, that's just so silly because you don't really shake your leg like that when you're standing.
Yeah, nobody does that when they're
But
nervous.
she
It
starts
doesn't
doing
work.
it. It's almost like a dog, like a human playing a dog, like her legs shaking like
And then
that.
there's another weird thing is Balky like reaches over the counter for her leg, and then like Larry smacks his hand down. I was like, "What are you gonna do?
That's weird.
What are you doing?"
That's weird. I don't know. Jennifer wants to take
She's in
this test, but that's weird because is she taking it because she's looking for confirmation that
or an excuse to cut
exactly.
bait or cut bait.
Or
they both have degrees of it not being confident.
Yeah.
So we transition to later, and now Larry and Jennifer are sitting on one side of the couch, and Balky's like sitting on a stool to the side of the couch, but he's got his feet on the couch, on the sofa.
With shoes. Gross.
On. Yeah, there's a lot of bacteria when you wear your shoes in the house. And you're putting it on the sofa.
What are you doing?
Anyways, and also you'll notice Balky now is talking in a very confident, test-giving manner, almost like a different persona.
Proctoring an exam.
Yeah, he's proctoring this exam. He goes, "Okay, just a few more questions, and we'll be finished." He's got a clipboard and a pencil.
And it's Jennifer's turn, and he says, "Jennifer, would you be angry if cousin Larry was working late and didn't call you, and therefore the pig snout that you prepared for dinner was ruined?"
Shadow of a snout.
And Jennifer's very, very nervous. She's like doing this thing where like you want to get the right answer. She's like, I know how involved Larry can get with his work, so I guess I would understand if he forgot to call me once or twice, but if it happened all the time, I suppose I would get angry. As if she's guessing on
question. And she says it like she's on a game show, right?
And Larry is right there with her, next to her on the game show, because he starts clapping and he's like, "Good answer, good answer, good answer."
And then Steve Harvey goes, "Show me, get angry."
No, we don't get that.
That'd have been great.
Balky just starts writing on his clipboard. We don't know what he's writing. And Jennifer and Larry are just like watching him. And they're like, "Is that a good answer?" And Balky's like, "There are no good or bad answers. I'm developing a picture of the couple based on their responses and scoring those responses on a scale designed to reflect their overall compatibility." And he tells them that this test has been developed over a number of years. It's not a game, and I think we should remember that. He's like being very serious.
He's trying to get it serious. He goes, okay. He goes to Larry, "Cousin, you're next." He goes, "Pick up the apples, please." Yeah. And there's a bowl of apples in front of him. Larry picks up 3 apples, and then Balky just goes, "And juggle." And Larry's like, "Wait a minute, what?" He goes, for the last hour, Jennifer has been answering reasonably intelligent questions, and I've been playing Double Dare.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that is a topical reference there.
Explain.
Double Dare was an amazing game show for kids on Nickelodeon. Where you would perform challenges and answer questions and all in the hopes of not getting slimed.
Yeah,
but then
there were a lot of like fluids.
You'd have to slide into a vat of like cottage cheese or whipped cream, or there's chocolate
all
syrup.
All the kids were in like these jumpsuits the whole time with like goggles.
Yes, Mark Summers was the host. Then they did Family. Remember they did Family Double Dare?
Yeah,
your whole family.
There were a bunch of spinoffs.
And man, did I want to go on this show so badly?
Every kid in the 80s and 90s wanted to go.
Like if you were a little bit older, you wanted to go on the Bozo the Clown Show. But then, if at this age, you wanted to go on Double Dare because you would win cool prizes and it looked like so much fun.
And it looked like so. It's kind of like that game show these two were on. Balky and Larry were on. They got all dirty.
Yes, so they got all messy. Yes. Yeah. It was a huge show for years. It might still be on in some form.
Mark Summers was so young.
Mark Summers hosting Double Dare. I remember Mark Summers.
He was like some kid himself. So anyway, that was the reference to Double Dare. I guess it was still big in 91.
Absolutely, yeah. It was
big for a while, yeah. But what were the questions? Were they like knowledge questions?
I don't remember. I don't remember the question part. I just remember getting
for the
dirty.
dares.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jumping into the giant ice cream sundae or whatever it was. That was fun.
Okay, so Larry's like, "I don't get it. She only answers questions and I'm doing all this like weird stuff." And Balky's like, very serious. Balky's like, "Are you uncomfortable about taking the test?" And then he licks the end of his pencil and like hovers it above the clipboard as if threatening to write something down.
Why do people do that?
What?
Lick the end of the pencil.
I don't know. Oh,
what does that?
Pen?
Maybe it was a pencil.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either one. Why do you do that? Do you need to, does that how help it write?
That's a good
Why do
question.
people do that? I never understood. That's you see it all the time. The reporter will like lick the pencil and start writing. Does it help? Right? Does it help? I would think a wet lead would be harder to write with.
The old material of solid graphite was very dense and did not leave much of a mark on the paper. In order to leave a clear mark on the paper, people would wet or lick the end of a pencil.
You did have to lick it
to make it flow like a pen.
Oh, so it was specifically a pencil.
Yeah.
I never had to do that. I'm glad we grew up in modern pencil technology times.
Yeah.
You just get lead poisoning. That's what would happen.
So Balky does that. He licks the end of his pencil. He's like, "Are you uncomfortable about the test?" And like hovers it over the clipboard as if threatening to write something. And Larry's like, "No. I love taking the test." He doesn't want him to write anything down. He's like, he's like, okay, juggle? Okay, no problem. And he stands up with the apples and he just like tosses one and catches does not know how to juggle. So
I mean, he juggles about as good as I can. I can maybe a little bit better, but it's
funny?
hard.
I really think Marklin Baker is probably
I bet he's a really good juggler. Maybe both of them, because it is a skill you pick up. Because he knows how to do it. You see him tossing in the right order of the three, but he just does it once.
Badly. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's about as good as I could juggle.
I love watching people juggle.
Oh my God, it's fascinating.
Every time I get so excited.
All the different kinds of
people
jugglers.
on the street, people in a park, anybody from a distance. I see it and I can't juggle at all. I've tried to learn and I just don't have, I don't know.
It's mesmerizing when somebody does it really well.
And then when you see partner juggling, oh my God. And like, any kind that whole thing, it's like one of my favorite things to watch. Like I will fall in love with someone if they just
you just need to juggle.
If they just juggle well.
Whether it's chainsaws
it's kind
on
of fire
hot, or knives. Or now I love the bounce juggle where you bounce
juggling.
Down. Oh my God, there's people do some crazy stuff with it.
2019 spelling bee winner, Zaila Avant-Garde. She's in the Guinness Book of Records like 3 times for basketball tricks, and her Instagram is all that kind of cool. Juggling.
Yeah. That's always fun. Juggling, and you can learn it. Actually, it's not hard if you practice.
You just have to practice. No, it's something about the spatial awareness or something.
Like I remember we had like a assembly or something. People came to our school
to teach you juggling.
Yeah, during gym class.
Well, that was cool.
I was either grammar school or middle high or high school. I can't remember. Middle school, high school. I forget when, but so I know like the mechanics of like how to.
Yeah, you could take clowning classes here.
It just takes practice. Everybody can juggle.
Maybe that'll be on my list of 2024 goals is learn to juggle.
Well, you're already learning piano, so you might as well learn to juggle. I'm learning
piano.
So Larry's trying to juggle, and Balky goes, stand on one foot. And then Larry picks up his foot and keeps trying to juggle. And then Balky goes, close your eyes. And Larry's like, all right, look, nobody can juggle with their eyes closed. And Balky just looks at him and goes, I'm sorry. I believe I simply said, close your eyes. I don't believe I said anything about juggling. And then Larry's like, oh, God, does that mean I got the part about the standing on the foot wrong, too?
And Balky stays serious, and he just looks at him, and he goes, sit down, please. Put the apples away.
Yes, it's all business. I love this, Balky. Sit down, please. Put the apples away. So he's right. He's right, though.
He's like the Squid Game proctor.
He is like the Squid Game guy because he just said stand on one foot. He didn't say nothing about juggling. He didn't say you had to juggle and stand on one foot. You got to learn to listen to directions, Larry.
So he reminds Larry there's no right or wrong. And he's like, were you not listening? And he licks his pencil again and again threatens to write something down on the clipboard. Okay. And Jennifer's like, no, Larry was listening. He's a very good listener, and he should get extra credit for that. And then Balky just goes, the test is finished. And then he goes to compute their scores, and he's like doing a lot of calculations on the clipboard, scribbling madly. And Jennifer's like, I hope we pass. And Larry's like, don't worry. I'm sure we did. He's like, your answers were wonderful, and I did 125 push-ups.
When did he do that? He's not even sweaty. That's a lot of push-ups.
125. Now you break them up into sets of 10.
Oh, come on. You'd be sweaty. That's going to take some time.
And so then they're like, Balky, what score do we have to get to be compatible? And Balky says 60. And Larry's like, okay, cool. What do we get? 80, 90? And Balky goes, 3. Your score is 3.
3. Yikes.
And Larry and Jennifer look at each other in shock, and we fade to black. End of Act 1.
3 is not a good score, listener. Before we get to Act 2, you can join this conversation by joining our Facebook group. There is a link in the episode description. I post threads of the shows. We're going to record episodes ahead of time so you can watch along, leave your comments, questions, observations, meet other listeners of this podcast and perfect stranger heads. Perfect strange heads, perfect stranger heads, other cousins. You will make new cousins who appreciate the finer things like you do, which is an episode of Perfect Strangers.
Okay. Act 2. We're in the same place with their shocked faces. They got a 3. And Larry goes, what? I skipped rope with a book on my head and we got a 3?
Oh, that's interesting. That's very hard to do.
How could you do that?
I'm not sure
you
how
have
you do
to
that.
jump just from below the knee.
That's very good balance for Larry. I'd like to see that. And then Jennifer goes, it's my fault. I should have been more enthusiastic about vacuuming.
Oh, wow. And Balky's like, look, I really feel like a Baba Sticky. I never would have asked you to take the test if I thought you would do so badly. What? And Larry goes, I sucked a lemon and whistled the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and we get a 3. I feel like, is there a third one coming?
No, I think that is the third one with the push-ups. I love this. I love this repeating bit, though. It's like it adds all these things.
It's weird that the first
test.
one was in Act 1 and the other 2 are in Act 2,
But like all the things he's just been through that we didn't see leading up to this test, this fantastic bit.
And then Larry's like tries to make themselves feel better. He's like, you know what? So what? Who cares? Even if this test means something, he's like, but it doesn't. He's like, Balky probably didn't even give the test right. And now Balky's offended. He goes, I beg to back issue with you. To bake issue? Does he say bake?
No, back issue.
That's what he said?
I think so. He says, I beg to back issue with you.
Which is the plan. I beg to take issue.
Take issue. Oh, he made it back issue. Like a back issue reminds me of comic books. You buy back issues of comic books.
back issue, like my back hurts.
Or a back issue. But I thought of comic books because you always go buy the back issues, the previous issues. I beg to take issue is what he meant to say.
Yeah. He says he knows how to administer the test. Why? Because he happens to be a licensed Nupitiki Dr. Ruthiki.
A Nupitiki Dr. Ruthiki, Larry repeats, of course.
It's a Meposian marriage counselor.
And Larry's like, you're a Meposian marriage counselor? And
apparently he
Balky
is.
says that's correct. Now, I did not know this was one of Balky's jobs that he's had or that he was. This has never come up before.
It has come up that he was a Meposian matchmaker.
He was a matchmaker.
They kind of go hand in hand.
I mean, those would be great, like complimentary businesses, actually, if you're first you're the matchmaker, and then they can hire you as the marriage counselor.
Right. Also, it's just weird that we never knew this about him. Or Larry never knew
Another clever name with Dr.
Nupitiki
Dr. Ruthiki. Of course, Dr. Ruth Westenheimer, famous...
Westheimer.
Westheimer.
Yeah, a famous
sex
love
doctor, sex
guru.
Whatever, psychologist.
She had columns and TV show.
Yeah, the TV show, and she had a very great German accent.
Dr. Ruth.
I'm Dr. Ruth. She was great.
She's still around?
No, I don't know. I doubt it.
Okay.
But Nupitiki Dr. Ruthiki is hilarious. They're having a lot of fun with these Meposian names, which I like.
And Larry's like, what? You're a marriage counselor. What do? Start with shaky sheep marriages and work your way up to people?
Okay, condescending, first of all, Larry. A little condescending, but a funny line.
But also weird that Larry has never known this about Balky. Yes. And Balky gives him a, rolls his eyes, and he's like, sheep don't have problems with their marriages. Pigs, on the other hand, have problems with commitment. And then there's a beat, and then he goes, that's why they call them pigs.
That's so funny. That's really good. That's why we call them pigs. Jennifer is trying to smooth things over, but she's like, look, maybe just because the test wasn't wrong before doesn't mean it can't be wrong now. Maybe whatever, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you did make a mistake. And Larry's like, that's the kind of talk I like to hear. And he goes, look, we'll take the test again. Now he starts to make a plan and starts to have kind of a time frame. He goes, okay, look, we'll take a year, 2 years tops. We'll study, we'll pass the test, we'll get married 2 years from June. Right, Jennifer? So we talk about 2 years from now.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's like, oh, right. And then she's like,
Oh.
I don't know if she's making this up or this is legit. She goes, I just remembered 2 years from now, this was when my dad was going to retire and he and my mother want to drive around the country in a Winnebago. Our wedding plans might interfere with their plans. This is another lame excuse.
Yeah.
And so back to Larry, he goes, okay. Well, we'll just start planning when they get back. So 2 years until his retirement, and then we'll say 2 years in the Winnebago, a year of planning. We're looking at June, 5 years from now. Does that work for you, Jennifer?
And Jennifer's like, yeah, 5 years. I can wait 5 years. I mean, after all, what's 5 years? And then she starts sobbing, when your marriage is doomed anyway. So she does believe in the test. And she starts sobbing and like into Larry's shoulder, and Larry's got his arms around her, and he's like, it's going to be okay, whatever. And then Balky's just watching all of this like these people are
He's
nuts.
rolling his eyes. He's like, these people are crazy, man.
And he kind of like puts his arms around both of them. He and leans in. He goes, I can help. And he says, it's a long shot, but I think your only hope of happiness is for both of you to take the Nupitiki Spikin Spanakopita.
And of course, Larry again repeats the Nupitiki Spikin Spanakopita.
The Miposian marriage cleansing ritual.
Oh.
And he says it will either make them compatible or remove the waxy buildup from your linoleum.
There it is.
But either way, it's going to make a big difference for them.
So they kind of explained the name. Another great name.
Nupitiki Spick and Span,
Yeah.
which is removing waxy buildup.
Well, I don't know if that's still around. I remember Spick and Span.
It was a cleaning product.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Plus Spanakopita, which is a Greek food item, which would make sense to have it also on Mypos.
Spanakopita is delicious.
So good.
So I don't know why they had to add the food in there, but it just makes it sound funny, I guess. They're like, Spanakopita. Oh, Spick and Spanakopita.
Like
we gotta have
pie,
that. Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
Made with floor cleaner.
Yeah.
So they're going to take this ritual. We cut to the next day where we see in this giant apartment.
In their giant living room.
The sofa has been moved out of the way. There's
you can't
more.
even see it. That's
No,
how big the living room is.
I don't know where the
did
sofa
go?
is. It all the way to the left? It's gone.
So
What
funny.
replaces the sofa is a green kiddie pool in the middle of the living room.
Yeah.
And Larry and Jennifer, who are in different clothes, are standing in this pool. And you see Balky in, it looks like a white robe, but on closer inspection, it's just like a white sheet with a hole
see like
cut.
the phrase from cutting it with
the hole
the
in it. He
scissors.
just put it over his head.
And Larry's just like in his regular clothes, the tie. Jennifer's in a dress, whatever. Her regular clothes. And Balky's also on top of his white sheet is wearing like a medallion with like a stone in the middle.
Yeah, like a blue circle.
Over like a broader, like kind of bronzish looking
Well,
flat
we'll find out
base.
about that.
So we see this setting. First of all, the apartment's huge. Like he's got a whole little kiddie pool in their living room. And Jennifer sees Balky's like polishing that medallion, and Jennifer's like, Balky, that's a very interesting medallion. It looks like it's in the shape of a lamb chop. And it does
look like a lamb
It is the
chop.
shape of a lamb chop.
Yeah.
And Balky's like, actually, it's the shape of the island of Mypos.
Oh.
And then he holds it up and he points to one part. He goes, my little village, Podonki, like Podunk, Mypos, is right here in the Gristle area.
The Gristle area.
And then he goes to the other side. He's like, over here in the Tenderloin is Six Flags over Mypos, which is also such a funny line.
They have an amusement park on Mypos. Six Flags went out to Mypos.
You know, I'm going to have to rate this episode a little higher because there's so much good writing.
There's good references. Six Flags over Mypos. Just a roller coaster over there.
That was just such a funny little detail.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's like, okay, the stone is beautiful. And Balky explains the color reflects the turmoil in your relationship that is preventing you from having a happy marriage. And if purification takes place, and I'm not making any promises, the color will become lighter and lighter until it's just as clear and pure as your love for each other. It's like a mood necklace.
Well, that's what Larry says. He goes, oh, that's it. I'm not letting my future be determined by some madman wearing a mood lamb chop.
A mood lamb chop
is hilarious.
That's really funny, too.
So I don't know if the island of Mypos is actually shaped like a lamb chop, but I think a lot of people will remember it is because of this episode. I think later we do see a shot of Mypos when they visit. It doesn't look like a lamb chop. And also, apparently, in the original script, probably got cut, Balky does tell him that he won that medallion at Funland. So
Meepos?
no, at Funland there, not on Meepos.
Oh.
So it's just some random medallion, and he said
Okay.
it was a Meepos to use it for this.
Oh, yeah, when he
Because
at
we
the
find
end.
out the whole thing
gotcha,
is whatever it is, right?
Gotcha.
But so whatever.
So he's just making it up that
He's
it's
just
shaped
making
like
up a lot
lamb
of
chop.
things. Yes, maybe
Yeah.
it's not shaped like a lamb chop.
That would explain the inconsistencies.
Yeah. But Jennifer wants to try a ritual, and Larry's like, all right, fine. Let's do it.
And Balky says, then let the purification begin. And he goes over on Larry's side of the pool. And on both sides of the pool, there's like a little side table with these like brass jugs.
Yeah, brass.
covered by napkins.
Yeah.
So he goes to the table on Larry's side and he takes the brass pitcher, like jug or whatever, and he pours it over Larry's head. And what comes out is like a goopy brown, very Double Dare like goopy brown,
It is like Double Dare.
like wet mud.
It's supposed to be mud.
Smooth mud, yeah.
Almost looks like chocolate.
Chocolate
It's
milkshake, yeah.
It's got the chocolate milkshake consistency.
But it like drips all over
Gets
his
them
tie
all
and shirt.
dirty.
His hair is like matted down. It's
Yeah.
like thick too.
And Jennifer's just watching this, no reaction, and then Balky walks over
Wow,
to the
she's
other
watching
side.
it like, what is going on? Yeah.
He walks over to the other side where Jennifer is, picks up another brass jug, and proceeds to pour mud all over Jennifer. And there is a moment we caught here because she's wearing this lovely red polka dot dress with white dots, and she's standing there taking it. And at one point, it goes like down her dress,
chest,
and
down
she
her
reacts.
dress.
Her hand comes up like she's going to grab her,
And then
her dress, and she goes,
I feel like
takes her breath
Bronson
away.
Pinchot then held it there on
Oh,
purpose
then he's
because it was
"That's
like
funny."
filling
Yes.
her.
Oh, they were messing
her
with each
like
other.
cups,
Yes.
like her dress cups. It like was just filling with mud.
Marklin Baker's wearing a shirt buttoned up to his neck with a tie, right?
But she's like getting mud
Well,
down her
she's
dress.
got an open dress top, and it's going down.
He didn't
her
move
dress.
it. Once she
Yes.
reacted,
First
he
it-
kept
yes.
it right in that same
Yeah.
spot, and it was just going
And
down
then he
her
purposely
chest.
poured more down
So
her
funny.
dress. 'Cause she reacts to that.
And she then then she had to like still not break because how much of a pain would be to do a second take of that?
This
They'd
has to be done all
clean
at
up
in
and
one
do it
take,
again.
right?
Yeah.
You can't. This is such a waste of time. Like,
Right.
You just got to
And-
get this one and done.
clothing and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And hair, they'd have to get their hair redone. Like it would be.
Yeah.
So she had to just not break, and I imagine they did it in one take.
So they're standing there covered in mud. Balky looks at his medallion lamb chop and he holds it up and he goes, uh-oh, still blue. Didn't work. Well, I did my best to purify you, but I'm afraid your marriage is doomed. Out of the pool, please. And he
Back to business.
He's like, out of the pool, like he's a lifeguard. And he makes him step out of the pool. He stands in the middle. He goes, I'm not even sure you two should be friends.
Oh my gosh. And they're like, we're still doomed. And then Jennifer turns on Larry. Larry, why'd you even let us do this stupid ritual? And Larry turns on General. You're the one who forced us into this. And she goes, you're the one who couldn't set a date because you're so. And Balky finishes for her. He says, afraid. And Jennifer goes, afraid.
And then Balky goes, cousin, she just said you were afraid to Larry. How does that make you feel? And Larry goes, afraid.
More afraid. What is he afraid of? He's afraid that after they're married, Jennifer will realize that he's not the charming, sophisticated man she thought he was.
That's what he said in the beginning of the episode.
And then Jennifer says that she's afraid that once they're married, Larry will find out that she's not perfect.
She's not perfect. What? Jennifer? No. Come on, Jennifer. You're not perfect. Look at it.
And Larry's like,
Covered in
I
mud.
don't care if you're not perfect. And then he says, like, the rest of this is like stuff that doesn't really vibe with what we as an audience know about their relationship at all up to this point. But maybe it's like implied that their relationship has been growing in the background somehow.
It's been like 4 seasons.
I know,
mean,
but
come
like
on.
we've never had any insight into it. And so he says, I don't care if you're not perfect. I mean, look at you. You've never looked so awful. She's like covered in mud. You've never looked so awful. And then he pauses and he goes, and I've never loved you so much. And the whole audience goes, oh,
that's the all moment. Yes.
And then Jennifer does a quick reciprocation. She says, I've never seen you look worse either. I love you too. And Balk is like, but the test. They're like, they don't care about the test. And they don't care if a million tests say they don't belong together. Larry says, I want to marry you, Jennifer. And Jennifer's, Larry, I want to marry you. And he says, let's get married. Jennifer goes, when? And Larry says, tonight. Which I thought would be a fun ending to this episode.
God, if they went all muddy to like some Vegas, they have to go to Vegas. Somewhere got married.
And Jennifer's muddy. Like, tonight's no good. And Larry goes, oh God, goes back to thinking they're doomed again. And she's like, no. I mean, we should make some arrangements. And she goes, how about September? Although September was on his list of allergy months.
Yeah, but you know what? There's pills for that, Larry
Zyrtec.
Appleton.
Take some Zyrtec.
Was Zyrtec invented? There's something. You could get something. Because he agrees. He goes, all right. September. And you know what? That's great for the TV audience because that's when the show comes back on with new episodes. That was perfect.
Really, it was always had to be September.
I don't know how
always had to be September.
Jennifer knew that September would be a good month. Anyways, they kiss and they hug and everybody goes, aw. And Larry turns to Balky and goes, there, see, we're getting married this year and nothing's going to stop us. What do you say to that, Mr. Miposian marriage counselor?
Balky says, you just passed the Miposian marriage test with flying colors. What?
There was a test.
It was rigged.
The whole thing was rigged.
It was rigged. Balky, well, kind of. Balky explains that everybody fails the first part. They make sure of that. And they make sure that everyone fails the second part, too.
Yeah.
And then if people still want to be married to each other, that's how they know that there's a really deep commitment and that they'll live happily ever after.
Oh, see? That's kind of clever, actually. And Larry's like, we would have failed the test no matter what. Because we took mud in the face
and down the dress. Yeah.
And down the dress. And Balky reminds them it wasn't for nothing. It was to prove that they loved each other and they have nothing to be afraid of. And they both realize that. And Jennifer's like, Balky, thank you for helping us see that. Larry's like, thanks, buddy.
That was awfully quick to forgive them.
Yeah. And then just like that, it's over, right?
Maybe.
He did show them what they benefited.
And Larry's like, okay, so he's still processing. He's like, this is what all couples go through on Mipos. And Balky's like, sort of. And he's like, what?
Because, well, to some extent.
Yeah, to some extent.
And we're all thinking the next line because Jennifer goes, what do you mean to some extent?
And he tells them that usually they make do with just the written test and some verbal abuse and a carefully monitored psychodrama.
I do love this. Written test, verbal abuse, and carefully monitored psychodrama. What is that? I want to know what that's
like. Mind trick.
Yes, they played mind games on him. That's what he did to them.
But he changed this one a little bit. Why? Because no one on Mipos is quite as neurotic as the Jennifer and Larry.
That's true.
So he felt that he had to put in some extra special touches.
Special touches, Larry?
What special touches? He's like, well, the mud was kind of my idea.
Oh.
And Larry is like, excuse me?
And they both look
at him like, what did he just say?
What? The mud was your idea. And Larry walks to Balky. He goes, you know, Balky, words cannot express what we feel right now. And he brings Balky over to between them in front of the pool.
In the pool.
In the middle.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, isn't that right, Jennifer? Words can't express what we're feeling. Isn't that right? And she goes, oh, no, they can't. No, they can't.
And then Larry bends down behind Balky and from the inside of the pool, I guess, grabs this, another pitcher, a third brass pitcher.
Because Balky's like, oh, I love you guys. You guys don't owe me anything.
That must have been in the pool.
Yeah.
And he pours it over Balky's head.
Yes, we do.
To get him back. Yes. He's like, yes, we do. We do owe you something. And he pours the mud on Balky and then they're all three muddied and they have a
Balky, it forms like a perfect helmet on his hair. He's got like Ken doll hair.
Yeah.
It doesn't even hit his face. It's just like sticking to his hair.
And then
and they all
hug and roll credits.
Listener, before we get into our thoughts, check out our TeePublic shop. Get some swag. Somebody bought a pillow.
Oh.
Late last month. I got an email alert. Thank you for buying.
Thank you. Reveal yourself. Post it somewhere and tag us. Send us a photo. Send it to the group.
But you can get your own Dance of Joy pillow.
DanceOfJoyPod.com/shop.
It's our TeePublic shop. There's t-shirts, hoodies, pillows, tote bags, cell phone cases.
Great Christmas presents for your Perfect Strangers fans.
And then it'll turn them on.
I'm going to put Dance of Joy pillow on my Christmas
list. Put it on your Christmas shopping wish list.
Ask Santa for.
Go check it out today. So at the end, when Larry bends over and reaches for the jug, you notice
the third jug.
Yes, you notice Jennifer turns and she starts to bend over and then stops and straightens up. I think they were both supposed to have a jug at the end, and maybe
she saw that
a prop guy forgot to put a second one and then just went with it, because that would have been funny, because they both should get back at him. And then you also mentioned, Marianne isn't here to cover in mud. That would have been nice somehow.
Yeah, I thought it would have been a nice touch if Marianne was sort of helping Balky administer the test the whole time, if she was in it with, and then they both got mud porn, and maybe it was her idea even, or like they say, we came up with the mud together or whatever.
Marianne is getting left out of all the mud pouring fun. She could be like, you guys had a bonding thing and I wasn't there.
I really didn't have that thought until the very end when they all hug. I'm like, that's weird. It's like just three of them
They just
hugging.
built a core memory and left Marianne out of the whole thing.
But it would have been so easy to have included her.
I guess you could have figured out she could have been his assistant or something.
They could have just administered it together.
And then they all just pour mud on each other just for fun. It's a mud party.
Or like he could have explained, like, I'm a licensed marriage counselor and I just trained her, and she's like, she's in training or whatever.
Dr. Nupitiki, Dr. Rutiki.
Yeah.
So look, the first time I watched it, I thought it was like just okay. It seemed fillery. It deals with the thing we care the least about, which is Larry and Jennifer's relationship. Right, but they have to give a whole episode to the relationship, because, like you said, they don't ever establish that they like do anything or love or have what their feelings are. But watching it again, the clever names, the shaking of the fork, some of this stuff was really funny. Like there's some gems in the air.
I'll agree with you on that. The issue I had with the
whole kind of premise is dumb, though.
The premise is dumb, and what it centers around is like their relationship, but we have not had any like focus on the relationship the whole time. We don't know how it's grown, but somehow we're now expected to believe that all this time, like that these pre-existing emotions or whatever we're expected, they're just not believable to us, because it never seemed like Jennifer was into him. It was very surface. They don't focus on their relationship much in the stories.
The only relationship stuff they do in the episodes is when it goes bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all you see. So
we don't see the good parts.
Why do they want to get married to each other? Why does she want to marry him? Do they even want to do
we don't have that. Yeah, exactly. The relationship has never been like a solid thing for me.
At the beginning of this episode.
Especially from Jennifer's
neither of them
point of view. But
commitment.
Then the second part of that, as I was watching this episode, is that it wasn't really clear to me if both Jennifer and Larry, both Jennifer and Larry, for both of them, it wasn't clear throughout, like what emotions they were having, like why they were so freaked out, why they wanted to take the test or didn't want to take the test. And I feel like it was in my head, it was flopping back and forth a lot. And it was just a fog. You know what I'm saying? Like, why didn't Jennifer, at one point, Jennifer was trying to at one point, both of them were trying to avoid setting a date, which would indicate that like Jennifer has doubts, isn't really into Larry, which is how it seems to us.
She wants to take this test.
But then she's really upset to find out that it's doomed. She wants it to be not doomed. And we're like, but why didn't you set a date? I don't, it was like all very confusing.
Yes. And then she's like, maybe you got it wrong. And they're both like, whatever, the test. Yeah, it was flip-floppy.
Yeah,
absolutely flip-floppy.
And then they're like, but the test. Oh, but no, forget the test. And then they're like, but I don't know. Like, it was it flip-flopped all around. I didn't know what that motivation or what the core of those emotions were. And that was foggy the whole time. But I also do agree with you on like second watch. Some of the lines were so funny and like higher quality jokes than we've seen for a while.
Yeah.
Very clever writing. I really enjoyed a lot of that. And then the seated physical comedy, also very clever, particularly the part with the fork with the cake on his bouncing
and
leg.
then Balky as the test giver has just incredible delivery.
That was also very fun to watch.
And juggle.
So I'm somewhere in the middle. The physical stuff, the funny lines, but also I didn't really get it. And also I would... on the negative side, I would have liked to see Marianne included more.
Mom, my favorites are when he's just like, 3, your score's 3. Or he's like, oh, sorry, you're doomed. Out of the pool, please. Out of the pool. Just very matter-of-factly. But because we get a couple of Balky-isms, and they're fine.
Not even
they're
about
good.
Balky-isms.
Yeah.
It's like the Meepo stuff, writing, and some of the lines.
But we did learn a little bit more about Meepos, about their marriage fixes. So, okay, what did our listeners think of this episode, Sister?
First up, we have listener cousin Pam Hitchcock, who writes, the most interesting thing in this episode is Meepos being shaped like a lamb chop.
Delicious.
That is interesting. But again,
it might not be.
Remember, he might have just made that up to go along with his ruse. And she writes, after all this time, Jennifer knows Larry is not a charming, sophisticated man. No worries there,
That's
Larry.
a good point. I don't know why he still thinks that.
Because in their world, they have a very strange engagement and relationship where they don't spend much time together.
They don't live together.
They don't live together.
Just broke into her apartment for the first time. He'd never been in her bedroom.
They're afraid to see each other in pajamas. I don't know, or haven't. I don't know.
But he met her mom and stuff. So
I know. Anyway, Pam Hitchcock makes a good point. I don't think there's anything for Jennifer to worry about. Larry's always had to have her. Yeah, this is true in a creepy way. She says, since I don't care in the slightest about Larry and Jennifer's relationship.
See, that's the thing.
This was just a time filler. Because, they never made us care. They
never made us care, so it seems a little filler.
So she says this was just a time filler. It was sweet and very clever of Balky in the way he reunited them, but was he actually a marriage counselor in Meepos, or did he make it up as part of his plan to get Jennifer and Larry on the same page? Not much to the episode. Gotta give it 7 Baba Stickies. Harsh. Okay. I don't know if I would go that harsh, but that's cousin Pam's assessment.
And you know what? It still works, even if he wasn't and he made this up. It worked. He just wanted to get them together. So maybe he saw it on Meepos and he just told them, because how are they going to check? The Meeposian marriage counselor registry online doesn't exist.
But again, it had other redeeming qualities that are separate from the story not making sense. All right. Next up, we have listener cousin Nicole Stoner, who writes, got a nag about the continuity here. Love it. But since when was Balky a marriage counselor on Meepos? She reminds us of that episode Wedding Bell Blues, where that's where Balky got married.
They didn't do any of these customs in that one.
Yeah, she's like, where were those customs then? And then do couples take the test during the arranged marriage planning process? At what point does this test happen? Good questions, all good questions for Ask a Meeposian. Maybe that'll be a future episode.
You have to find a Meeposian.
Yeah, we'll find one. So remember Larry's birthday episode in season 1 called Happy Birthday Baby?
Yeah.
Wait, was Happy Birthday Baby his birthday episode or when that baby was born?
No, it was his birthday episode where he got everyone from the diner to show up in the middle of the night to have a party, remember?
Yeah, but the title. Okay, anyway. Okay, Nicole Stoner also reminds us of Larry's birthday episode in season 1 called Happy Birthday Baby when there was a party for Larry's birthday. And that episode aired on April 29th, 1986. So she's just fact-checking the line from this episode that Larry's birthday is supposedly in May. So it does check. It works out. It was around the same time.
Continuity.
Cousin Nicole Stoner also was confused about Larry and Jennifer's sort of motivations or reasons for their anxiety. She writes, why would Larry, who's always been condescending toward Meeposian customs, agree to take the test? Just because Jennifer agreed? a last resort from his own neuroses, her neuroses, their neuroses.
Yes. The answer to your question is yes.
I think it's yes. I think he'll do whatever would make Jennifer happy.
Yes.
A couple listeners, including Nicole Stoner, pointed out that we see Balky writing, but it's with his right hand. And previously he had written with his left hand. And she goes, guess he really is amphibious.
Amphibious. It looked awkward when he was holding the pencil, like that wasn't his writing hand. So I don't know why they did that. Maybe he is amphibious.
And she points out that Bronson Pinchot's Meposian accent starts to dip in and out. He says apple normally. Usually the LE sound he'll pronounce like
grab the
apple
apples and juggle.
Appleton.
Yeah.
Like it's in Larry's name.
He was in marriage test mode, so he was being very serious and
formal.
Yes.
She writes, there's something I love about seeing snarky Balky and and something I find incredibly jarring about it. The accent slipping doesn't help.
He was definitely snarky as the
I love it.
test giver.
And finally, we have listener cousin Whitney Smith, who makes a good point. She's like, so far, all of the season finales are like not always the best episode, but she thought this one was a more decent season finale.
I mean, it left us with something to look forward to when it comes back, right? Usually it's just another episode in this era of sitcoms.
Yeah.
It's not like now where season finale is the build up to the whole season storyline and you're like, gotta watch the finale. It was usually just like another episode, but now they strung it to keep you hooked.
Yeah, this is the
September.
cliffhanger. Yeah, exactly. And you're like anticipating a wedding for this very bizarre relationship. Speaking of, cousin Whitney Smith also asks what many of us are probably thinking. She says, all this time, Larry and Jennifer have been engaged and they haven't made any wedding plans. Like they haven't talked about the date or invitations or the food or the catering or the flowers or the cake or
what kind of cake is it going to be?
Dress or the tuxedo or the color scheme or the venue or their parents or the best men or the maids of honor.
Who's sitting with who?
The band.
Does this sound like something? This is it's such a thing to put on a wedding. Oh my God. It already sounds just like a nightmare.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm not married, never planned a wedding.
We
but
kept ours
it sounds like
really
a lot
simple
of work.
because all those things,
sounds like a lot of work. And
are you kidding me?
Doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah.
But Whitney Smith is bringing up a good point. Like, how long have they been engaged? Like, they literally just said, of course, I'll marry you, and then never spoke about it again.
They're both like, let's hope nobody brings up a date. We're just going to carry on.
We're just going to be
until somebody says something. They clearly didn't.
And last week, Larry was all excited for his wedding night because he was trying to get a fireman's.
He still needs to get a fireman's coat.
But he was thinking about his wedding night because he asked to buy it. And so, like, when did he imagine that was going to be? Like, never?
Yes, he did say
How excited is he for this wedding night?
His honeymoon and his wedding night, yes.
I don't know. That doesn't make sense. But anyway.
That would happen at some point in the future.
Our listeners agree. Whitney Smith also writes, I don't believe I laughed at all during this episode. Wow, not even the cake on the knee part?
That was really funny.
That was so funny.
I laughed a couple of times out loud watching this again.
I laughed out loud hard.
Just watch that on a loop. It's hilarious. Him trying to eat a cake with a vibrating fork.
I mean, you and I thought like there were some redeeming factors to this, specifically things we haven't seen in a while come back, like the clever writing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whitney Smith didn't think so. She says this lacked a lot of stuff that we know of Perfect Strangers. And she also, like Cousin Pam, could not care less about Larry and Jennifer's relationship.
Nobody cares about their relationship.
I think I care more about Balky and Marianne's relationship.
Yeah, we want those kids to get together.
Because they're just goofy.
Yeah.
But Whitney Smith is a big fan of the Meposian vests, and so she was happy because Balky hasn't worn a vest in several episodes, but in this one, he was back in a vest. Otherwise, she says this is a very pointless... in capital letters, pointless and ridiculous episode.
It is ridiculous. Pointless, maybe, but they got to a thing where they're going to get married in September.
Yeah, it was a good cliffhanger for the end of the season, which was part of the point. Yeah.
But it does seem
But
like
yeah,
filler a little bit also.
Because from the start, this whole relationship was never believable.
What is
and
happening?
It's just weird.
Don't be ridiculous was not said.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And Dimitri's picture, I believe, is on the bookshelf. And no sighting of Dimitri. He should have had like a garlic
he
necklace
should have.
or something.
All right, now we're at Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today, the segment of this podcast in which we discuss, can we remake this episode today? Do all the things hold up? What would need to change, etc.? What are your thoughts?
You know what? Again, like last week's, it's kind of timeless topics here.
You'd still be nervous to set a date.
Still be nervous. You're still afraid of commitment is very much a thing. His test and his questions aren't really, except for like the Double Dare reference stuff,
would have to
right?
go, but
you can still make him juggle and say he did ridiculous things. You can change those around.
Yep.
And pouring mud on someone is
Dr.
never
Ruth
not funny. So
do people still know that reference?
No,
Some older
you'd have to make it like who's that other dude?
Oh,
Dr. Drew was like the love
Savage
doctor.
Love.
Yeah, or I don't know. You can update that.
Yeah.
No, back then, Dr. Ruth now is. I don't know
a couple updated references, but pretty much.
But the premise is
timeless.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
It's solid.
So pretty high PS Today score.
And Double Dare has proved people getting dumped with stuff on their heads is never not entertaining to watch.
Slipping and sliding around.
Yeah.
We need a show. I have a friend who works at Nickelodeon. I'll ask him if there's any talk about bringing back.
I mean, they do The Floor is Lava on Netflix, which is not the same thing.
But that's not goopy at all.
It's not, unless you fall into the lava,
true.
but that's it. But no, it's not goopy or, And it just made it harder when you were all slimed to like do those obstacle things. People would be slipping around.
Oh man, we used to dream of going on that show.
Never got to go. It would have been great. I don't know whether you'd have to go out to California or something. I don't know.
Surely they recruited kids from all around that.
You would think. So I think it's a pretty decent PS Today score.
Pretty good PS Today score.
People still get married. You're still going to go through all this
Still
stuff.
get married. Yes, they do. I don't know. I'm told. I've not done it, but I'm told. I hear this thing about I've heard about marriage.
Yeah, I see it on TV and stuff. So that's it for season 6. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's
we have
1.5
seasons to go.
of Perfect Strangers done.
Get out of the city.
Yeah, that's kind of
taking us a little while. We've been doing this 3 years.
It's all right. We got about there's about 30 more episodes.
30 more. I can't believe we've been doing it 3 years. Yeah.
The next thing we will put out will be our season break special. In the meantime, there's another way you can support the show by buying us a virtual coffee. Visit our website, danceofjoypod.com. There's a buy us a coffee button. We appreciate everyone's support. All things go back in. All the digdas go back into making this show.
Buy more pillows.
Buy more pillows. Buy us a virtual coffee so we can host this show and put it out. Get to the end. 2025 will be the year. We will make it.
We will.
To the end.
2025?
Oh, sorry. 4. Oh, look, I'm giving us another year buffer.
No.
You heard it here first. No.
I'm all about setting intentions and goals. And
Speaking
2024
goals,
will be the year
we get
of
through.
the series finale of the Dance of Joy podcast.
Let's make it to the end, and then we'll see what happens.
We're going to wrap. We're going to have a celebration, maybe.
Yes, there's our New Year's resolution.
Maybe we'll host like a Zoom party or something, and people can join us.
We could do watch parties on the Amazon Prime. They do watch parties and watch the final episode.
Maybe we should do a watch party for the final episode.
All good ideas.
All of these things. And if you have other ideas, other goals and intentions you'd like us to set for the Dance of Joy pod in the year 2024, you can let us know. How can you let us know? Head on over to our website, danceofjoypod.com. And right there on the main page, you'll see a button with a microphone. Press that button and just talk to us. Tell us what you want to see for the Dance of Joy pod in 2024. You can also hit us up on any of our social media accounts linked there from the website. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can send us an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. And if you don't want to do any of that, that's cool too. But you can show your support by going to all the platforms where our podcast is available, and hitting subscribe and like and leave us a rating or a review if you wish. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
The most important thing is to set a date. I don't know.
Set your goals.
Set your expectations. Set your goals. Make plans or don't. And just make it up as you go along. That also works. No, the most important thing is to share the show. Share it with your wedding planner. Share it with the caterer. Share it with any of the people involved. The produce man who sold you the garlic that you're going to hang on the wall. Share it with your cake decorator. And all your friends. Spread the word
with
of
your
strangers.
Nupitiki, Dr. Rufiki.
Yes, with your marriage counselor.
Tell her about the show. Another second most important thing is don't erase the J and U from July until you know what's coming.
Always start one letter backwards, one letter at a time when frosting a cake, because you may not have to rewrite those letters.
That's our show for this week. Now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy. We do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.